Hey everyone, Rod Santomassimo, the Massimo Show. And man, am I pumped and thrilled today because, we have the incredible Ken Ashley on the show today. And if you don't know Ken, you're probably not in commercial real estate. So let's get ready. Let's get set for the one and only Ken Ashley. Hi, this is Rod Santomassimo, and welcome to the Massimo Show. The objective of the Massimo Show is to share how you can maximize your personal and professional margin. That's right. Let's make more money in less time. Let's turn chaos into clarity, confusion into confidence, and income into real wealth. Along with sharing my insight on how I grew a multi-million-dollar professional business, we will bring you expert advice from various authors, consultants, and industry leaders. We'll provide you the tools you need to build that commercial real estate business and life you have always desired. Welcome to the Massimo Show. Ken Ashley.
So excited to be here, Rod. I'm pumped. I've been looking forward to this all week.
Ken, I got to tell you, I'm so pumped because, look, I'm always transparent with the audience. Yeah, Ken is a friend. He is a client of the Massimo Group, was an active, one of our inactive clients. We worked with him in the past. We're companions. We're colleagues. We talk about real estate. We talk about helping people grow all the time. And man, is this guy helping people grow. So Ken, let's get right into it because you have so much to offer to the audience. But I'm going to start with everybody on the Massimo Show. And you didn't see this coming, maybe.
Okay.
Who was Ken Ashley in high school? What were you doing?
Oh, I was a band geek.
Band geek, okay.
I was a band geek. I was a drum major. I was a high school newspaper editor, which I still love to write today. And it actually worked out because I went on to the University of Georgia, was in the Redcoat band, which is a lot cooler. It was basically a free fraternity with good-looking girls, and I married one of them. She was in the flag line. So band worked out for me.
The band worked out. Now, if I'm correct, the band also worked out for at least one of your sons. Is that correct?
You were paying attention. Yes. All of our children, we have 4 kids, 2 boys and 2 girls. They're all smart like their mother. And the boys were both in the Redcoat band as well.
That's amazing. What a legacy. Yeah. Okay. So the Redcoat band, meeting your wife in college. Awesome. Let's talk about some serious stuff because there's so much stuff going on right now. Yeah, and I think from the audience standpoint, commercial real estate standpoint, Ken, you've been representing tenants for a long time. How long have you been doing this, Ken?
I think I'm in my 29th year now. I started with long black hair.
Didn't we all?
Yeah.
So 3 decades of representing tenants. Obviously, the market's different than ever before in regards to tenants. What is going on right now? Because I read your tweets every day. What's going on in the office space?
So there's sort of a tale of 2 cities. One, you have to understand the office capital markets, which we've all read is a mess. It is very quietly a mess because I understand why building owners don't want tenant reps like me to know of their problems because then I won't show their property. So it's being held behind closed doors. There's a lot of pain. What worked at 3% doesn't work at 7 or 8%. The wall of maturations that you've all read about. So that is going on, and we have to be extraordinarily careful where we step because it's a minefield out there. But then there is also a lot of discussion. I was in California last week with one of the largest occupiers in the world in the tech space. They're coming back. There's a lot of this get back to the office. And I always say we haven't changed as a species in 4 years. That fundamentally being together is good for human beings. The Wall Street Journal called 2 days ago, we did an interview on loneliness and how that is impacting the wellness of people. It is pronounced. Now, you could argue with me, and I would probably agree that there's some job types that can be done remotely. But I will argue with you that mentorship is real, and that if you want to get promoted, especially by a boss who is in their 40s or 50s, who has spent their career in the office, you better get your butt to the office. No, you can stay home on Monday, you can stay in your bunny slippers on Friday, but you better be there at some point. So we're starting to see that shifting. The other thing I would share, Rod, is that I think people in corporate America are well-intended, but they're making big mistakes now. CFOs are running things and they're cutting this cost. They spent 3 or 4 years paying for office that they weren't using. Get rid of it. Well, they're cutting back too much. And so delightfully in 24, later part of 24, 25, and 26, we'll be fixing those problems.
Yeah, and I'm glad to hear that. I want you to share with the audience, something you shared with me in the past, it had to do with skinny jeans. Right? Skinny jeans and talking about Thanksgiving and all that stuff. And I love the analogy. So can you share that analogy with the audience when you talk about skinny jeans? We all freak out when we hear that word, by the way.
Yeah. I'm wearing jeans today. They're not very skinny, but Yeah, the idea of putting on skinny jeans before Thanksgiving was just a fun metaphor to say just that if you look at the needs of office space today, we're taking too little. And here's why. Number one, we are going to have a return to growth. I can't tell you exactly when that's going to occur. There's a lot of weirdness in the world, but look at history. It's going to occur, and there are going to be more butts needing seats. Number two, the pronounced benefit and lift that's going to occur from AI. I don't think any of us understand that. I mean, you understand more than most. You're deeply embedded in AI, and I consider you a real expert in that area. But we're going to see a significant lift in that. And then number three, in terms of the need for office space and the difficulty of taking too little, there's actually going to be a demand problem. I know you find that hard to believe, but in the flight to quality in the top buildings, the space is getting leased right now. Our particular market in Atlanta is more active than it's been in a long time. And so, as we always say, it's not about the space, it's about the place, it's about the community. So if you want the best opportunities and you take too little space, there's not going to be more of it. And we're also not building any new office buildings. In 3 years, there'll be approximately 11.7 million square feet of office buildings, Class A, constructed in America, and then it dwindles after that. And for reference, historically, we've constructed 40 million square feet. So I think it's going to be 5, 6, 7 years before we see any new office products. So it's a very complex environment. And I would caution people who look at the market monolithically and read by certain journalists that I love to hate that it's all terrible, it's all bad. It's much more complex than that.
Amen, brother. Amen. And look, I'm going to geek out for a second because if you just heard everything that Ken articulated, you could just sit there and go, cheese and crackers, this dude is the authority, right? Because he is. He lives it. He knows it. He understands it. Guys like you and Knackle that just understand the marketplace and where it's going makes you really special. And that's why we need to follow more people to follow you, Ken. It's just incredible. Let's geek out more with our audience, give them some more principles, because I know you have some core principles that have allowed you to be as successful as you are through your 30-year career. Let's talk about this 70-30 principle. Can you share about that?
I sure can. It's something that I developed, and when you hear it, it'll become common sense, but maybe it's not so well articulated in this fashion. The concept of the 70-30 principle is this. That is that when you're sitting down, let's imagine we're sitting down at lunch, and you and I are getting to know each other maybe for the first time. I am trying to develop a relationship with you. I am calling on you. You're a corporate executive. 70% of the time, I'm going to do my best to learn about you, to lean in. We all think about ourselves all the time. It's human nature. It's okay. But if you will be intentional about doing the research and even trying to memorize a stream of questions, Harvey McKay wrote a book called Swim with the Sharks Without Being Eaten Alive. It's a terrific read, Rod. McKay's 66 questions. And so the goal is trying to ask as much as you can about them 70% of the time and have that conversation. And people love to talk about their family. They love to talk about their goals and aspirations. If you can get past the pro forma and get someone to talk about what they want to be in the future, the relationship will bloom. Why 30% about you? Well, first of all, it's boring if you just talk about one person the entire time. And then the second issue is they can't remember you. And as hard as it is to get the first meeting, it's a lot harder to get the second meeting. And so they have to remember you and invest in the relationship. So it's okay to share a little bit, but fundamentally focusing on the other person. And frankly, as Don Miller says in Building Your Story Brand, making them the hero. Mm-hmm. Brokers are confused. We think we're the heroes. We think we're great. We've done deals. We're just the guide. They're the hero.
Yeah. And wow, that's a great reference, by the way. I love the 70-30 principle. Can't agree more. Building Your Story Brand, Donald Miller, a phenomenal book. I actually spent 2 days learning about the Story Brand application. And yeah, we're all just guides. We're just guides. That's all we are. We're never the heroes. So yeah, I love it. And I think a lot of folks, if you're listening to this, when you're talking to your prospects, right? Are you engaging with them? Are you selling? What are you doing? Are you sharing? So Ken, I love it. Let's continue these lessons. You talk about this 2080. Is it 2080? Help me understand that. What's that?
Well, there's sort of two versions. The first is the 2080 principle.
2080.
Which is how to value your time. Because many of us in commercial real estate don't have a salary, we don't know how to value our time. So the guy calls and he says, hey, will you come to my broker event and get a free pork sandwich and a chance to win a flat screen TV? And you're like, yeah, I want a free pork sandwich. So you drive across town and you spend a total of 2 hours to do that. Well, let's deconstruct that. If you want to make $1 million a year and you divide that by 2, I don't know what your splits are with your shop, but that's roughly $477 an hour if you divide it by the number of working hours in a year, which is 2,080. You might say, well, Ken, that doesn't account for vacation. Well, you account for vacation. You do it however you want. But 2,080 is the number of working hours in a year, and we're probably working more than 40 hours a week if we're honest. And then let's say your noble goal is to net $1 million a year. Then let's just round that up and say your time is worth $1,000 an hour. Mm-hmm. You know, when you take your kids to the bowling alley and you have those gutter guards, this is a gutter guard for your time. So when the guy calls, and unless you owe him a favor or there's a reason to get the free pork sandwich, you don't want to spend $2,000 for a pork sandwich.
Where's the 2080 come in? Help me understand that one.
In every year from January 1 to December 31, if you look at the number of weeks in a year and multiply it times 40 hours a week, there are 2,080 working hours in a year.
Yep, 2080. Got it. I love it.
And the sister concept to that, which is not related to time, I mean, it has something to do with time, is sometimes called the 80-20 principle, which, of course, is Vilfredo Pareto, Dr. Pareto's wonderful insight that all of our time does not provide an equal return. In fact, 20% of your time probably generates 80% of your income or success. And it's a whole nother idea of focusing on unpacking where you make the most, where you supercharge your time and doing more of that, which is something I learned from you.
Yeah. Let's build that not to-do list. Let's move forward. Hey folks, Rod Santomassimo with the Massimo Group. And did you know we work with thousands of your commercial real estate peers over the past 15 years now? And we've helped them build the business and the life they've always desired. And yeah, we have programs now for every level of success, experience, and yeah, even budget. So if you're tired of living on that transaction treadmill, of living in the chaos and the whirlwind of commercial real estate, if you want more clarity, more control, and more consistency, and yeah, higher commissions, give us a call. Visit us at www.massimo-group.com. That's www.massimo-group.com and schedule a free strategy session today. Okay, so now, look, we talked about how to get engaged with prospects and get them to have a second meeting, talk about how you should be looking at how you value your time and why it's so important. And yeah, if you think about it, Ken, we tell our clients or direct our clients to suggest that if you're not, and you just said $1,000 an hour, that's the magic number if you want to net, take home to your family $1 million a year. So you have to ask yourself, is what I'm doing right now worth $1,000 an hour? And if not, correct, why the heck are you doing it? Seriously. I love it.
I want to say one more thing, and that is important to turn that clock off after hours.
Yes.
You can spend infinite time with your loved ones, and it's $1 million an hour. It doesn't matter. So make sure, don't take that way of thinking and convert it to the weekend, because the time with your family is priceless.
It is absolutely true. Okay, so let's talk about prospecting comes, I think, of phone calls, right? And getting people to actually return your phone calls. So you have this principle called small promises. Can you expand on that?
I can. And first of all, hustle is a strategy, and cold calling, as you often say, and you're correct, works. And reaching out to people, I actually call it direct contact calling, because we're going to call someone having done the research and have a specific reason to speak with them, or at least an inclination about what might garner their interest. We're not just dialing 100 people. I don't think that makes sense. But here's the issue, is cutting through the clutter. And if you will think about a stereotypical CFO, if they're the real estate decision maker, they got a million things going on. And most brokers in a net take mode. Will you return my call? Can I have a meeting? Can I have your lease? Can I represent you? There's nothing in it for the CFO. And I talk to these executives. It's tough to be on that end because they're getting bombarded with vendors and with phone calls. So we try to think about doing it a little bit different way and to flip the script a little bit. So now I will call Mr. Jones, who's the CFO of this company, and I'll get a voicemail. Mr. Jones, hey, it's Ken Ashley with Cushman Wakefield. It's 3:00 on Thursday. I'm so sorry that I've missed you. I will call you back on Monday at 2:15. Click. Now, there are a couple things about that. I didn't leave my phone number, and I didn't ask him to do anything. I made a small promise. Monday at 2:15, ring, ring. Hey, it's Ken Ashley with Cushman Wakefield. I know you're busy. I'm sorry I've missed you again. I'm going to call you Thursday morning at 7:45. Click. Now, what I've done there is the same thing, but I've switched the time from the afternoon to the morning because executives sometimes are easy to reach in the morning. And after about 5 or 6 times of that, if I'm not successful in getting through, I believe, and people tell me that you've begun to establish kind of a brand. That's kind of weird. He didn't leave his phone number. He didn't ask me to do anything. This guy keeps calling. I wonder what he's up to. And then you can call the executive assistant and say, hey, can I set a call with Mr. Jones? I'm Ken Ashley with Cushman Wakefield. I've been trying to reach him. And then she or he will walk in there and he's like, oh, that Ken Ashley guy. Yeah, I'll take a call with him. So that is a way around instead of putting the burden on the other person. Can you call me back? No.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it because I learn so much from you all the time. So it's a mutual. I love it. Ken, I love it. I've never heard that approach ever in all my years. And it's incredible. I love it. I love it. I love it. Love it. And so do you have a sense of doing this in regards to the cadence of frequencies? Does it take 3 calls, 5 messages? Do you have a feel for what it takes to get a return call? You can't get a return call unless they have caller ID. And they do have caller ID sometimes. So how does that work?
Well, they definitely have caller ID, and it's going to roll to voicemail. And listen, it doesn't always work, but it is definitely thinking differently about this. First of all, on the frequency, I think you're asking of the calls. I wouldn't call anybody more than 2 times a week. I think it's just you're terrorizing them if you call more. Just switch the days. And by the way, Friday afternoon is a terrific time to try to reach people. If you've got a cell phone, we've all got Zoom info. We can all get the cell phone and all that sort of stuff. And that's a good way on the way home as they're headed out to their evening to catch them. But I don't have any empirical data. I would think it works about half the time.
Love it. That's incredible. Okay, I'm going to ask you one more thing before we move on to one of our things we love is social media. But we're going to one more thing before that, and that is this. We talked about how you value your time. We talked about how you engage people. We talked about this cadence of prospecting. So the goal of all prospecting is obviously to get a meeting. So you have this concept about this cognitive burden from a meeting standpoint. So I love that idea of cognitive burden, by the way, diving deep into mindset and everything else is going on right now and how we use our brain and what we do to leverage it. So Ken, what does this mean, this cognitive burden?
First of all, it is a delight to be sold to. We're all in sales. You know, if you're trying to convince your wife to go have Italian on Thursday night, you're in sales. We're all in sales. But it is great to have a great sales experience. We've all had, I hope, good experiences with salespeople, whether it was someone that fitted you with a suit or even an auto or a house, sold you something. And what we know about good salespeople is that they're really attuned into the needs of the buyer, but they make it easy. So you get calls, I get calls, we all get calls from people who want to meet with us, who are what I would, in a friendly way, call supplicants. They can't sell us. They can't help us. They want mentorship or they want something from us. They're a vendor, in effect. And they will sometimes reach out, and this works when you're calling on a prospect as well. And they'll say, and I got a text from a young person the other day, said, hey, Ken, I'd love to meet with you. I'd love to get some mentorship. When are you available? No. That's not how we're going to do it. Because what that makes me do is I have to have a lot of yeses. I have to say, okay, I'll meet with this young person. I'm going to open up my calendar. I'm going to make a decision about when I can schedule that meeting. Flip the script. I would say it this way. Now let's say I'm trying to meet with Mr. Jones again, and I'm emailing Mr. Jones instead of the phone call. What I would say is, Mr. Jones, it's Ken Ashley with Cushman Wakefield. There's something important I need to talk to you about regarding your building and something that's happening in the building that you need to be aware of. May I propose a time for a meeting? To unpack that, I didn't ask for the meeting. I just asked him if I could propose a time. That's a small yes. And the cognitive burden that you want that decision maker who makes lots of decisions, has a lot on his mind, to have a small and easy yes. Or, Mr. Jones, same sort of script. May I reach out to your EA to schedule a meeting? And that's important for 2 reasons. Number one, if he says yes in response to that, then the EA will permit it in. And number 2, when you call the EA, it's a respectful thing to say, you know, I have communicated with Mr. Jones and he said it's okay to meet. Otherwise, the EA is going to do his or her job and screen. And then they're going to have this whole conversation about the phone call. And if he doesn't know who I am, he's going to say no.
Okay. Another great, unique approach to getting meetings. But we have not a conflict. We have 2 different principles hitting each other right now, Ken. And so let's talk about this. Okay. So we should ask for meetings. We should be persistent and consistent. On the other end, we're sharing, you better know your time, your value of your time, and use it correctly to achieve your goals. So I know you are a servant more than anything else. You are an incredible example of someone who leads to being a servant. You're incredible and probably more than anyone I know. So at what point do you say, man, my time's really valuable, $1,000 an hour? And I got these people calling me, asking me for their time to give them my time. Because it's not my family, which is priceless, but it's not getting me going forward. So, because that's the constant battle I have. People call and say, well, I need 15 minutes. Well, you don't know what that means, right? I need 5 minutes. No, you don't. You need half an hour, right? And a half an hour is valuable. A half an hour for me is, personally, I look to go at least $2,500 an hour. That's my hourly goal every year. So to me, it's $1,200, right? For half an hour. It's a lot of money for me. But so Ken, how do you decipher time, giving back? How's it working for you?
Well, I appreciate the question. First of all, there is a way I've discovered to deal with that. And that is if I have 5 or 6 young people that want to meet, what I will often do is once a month at 3:30 on Friday afternoon, schedule 30 minutes for all of them to come together. We can have a discussion at one time. And a lot of times an executive will reach out and say, will you meet with Johnny or Susie? That's sort of a different kind of thing. There is a business development favor economy sort of thing to that. And then the secondary kind of thing is if someone reaches out, I'm going to ask them if they will meet with some of the young people here first. And what I find, it's remarkable, is that people typically don't follow through. And I'm actually pleased to tell you I'm working on a book called The Real Estate Prescription.
I love it. The
Real Estate Prescription, which is about 70% through, when I meet with young people, I literally write out their name at the top, the date, and 6 or 8 things that they need to do, and then I sign it. And a friend of mine said, if you just wrote the book, maybe fewer young people would want to meet with you. I'm like, well, that sounds good. So how to get in our business is in production, and there are definitely some tips and tricks.
Since you've been profiled in 2 of my books, I'm so thrilled of that, Ken.
Right here, baby.
And the latest one, right. So Ken, when is the big, because I'm working on my 5th book now as well. So when is the release? When can we expect this thing to come to the market?
Well, this is going to hold me accountable, but I'm targeting the fall. I've got a team that's helping me with it. And I do have a son getting married next weekend, so I'll have to be after that. But
well, congratulations on the son being married. That's a major, major accomplishment. But the book, wow. I mean, welcome to you've always been a great writer and a great author and sharing your stuff, but now in the book is being incredible. And I think it's going to be the staple for every young broker to read before they move forward. So it's going to be great. That's awesome. And we'll definitely support the hell of that thing when it releases.
Thank you.
Okay, Ken, let's talk about something I know that's near and dear to your heart. Yep. You are the founder. You're the founding principal. You're the driver. You're the force behind this thing called CREI, right? And showing people how to become more influential in the commercial real estate space. Can you give us a little insight to why you create this thing and tell us more what's the mission and how's it going?
So with CREI, it is pretty simply stands for Commercial Real Estate Influencer. And we started curating a list when the pandemic started in March of 2020 of people who are influential in Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Today we are at 7 lists, by the way, for listifying commercial real estate. But in business development in commercial real estate, I think there are 2 things you need to do to be successful. Selling. And selling is defined as speaking and listening with the intent to convince. And if you can't do that, friends, you probably don't want to be a real estate broker. Go somewhere else. But the second is a lot harder, and that is marketing. I have a degree in marketing. I think a lot about it. And marketing is quite simply what they think about you before you walk in the room. And a synonym for that is your brand or your influence. Now think about if you're a broker in Des Moines, Iowa, nice little community, and you want to be the go-to person in Des Moines, how would you build your influence or your brand? Or look at Bob Knackel, our mutual friend, your client, and what he's accomplished with Mo Regalado in terms of building his brand. And the fact is, it's so exciting. There's some of the most powerful tools in human history to communicate, and many of them are free, except for your time. So if you have a defined and curated strategy around this, I think it's a really interesting time to build your brand in whatever your marketplace is. So how did this start? It was 2009, the last downturn. I was having a tough time. We're in a commission-only business. The deal flow stopped, and it was rough. And you get to your point, I'll be very candid, you get to the point in your lifestyle where you can't valet park your way out of the issue, right? Mm-hmm. And so I had to be successful. And so I made a call to Coy Davidson, who's at Colliers in Houston. And it was the amazing 30-minute gift that changed my life. Coy's still a dear friend and someone I talk to a lot. But he talked to me about his early Twitter strategy. And so back in 2009, I made 3 decisions that changed everything. One of them was getting involved in social media and thinking differently about how to market yourself. The second was I got into the business of accounts that have lots of locations. And the third was we worked really hard to pay off all of our personal debt. And I don't know anybody anything on a personal level. And I think that's so important for brokers. We can talk about wealth building if you want, but a lot of brokers are focused on their income statement when they should be focused on their balance sheet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, Ken, we're going to dive deeper in this because, and you know this because you know Massimo. So Massimo, we really drive this thing called the P factor, 3 Ps, your value proposition, who do you serve and how do you serve them, plus your presence, how do you create your market brand, and then plus your prospecting strategy. And you put those together, you get an exponential relationship of production, presentations, and pitches. That's it. But the key of this is purposely, presence comes before prospecting. Marketing comes before sales because it's hard as hell to go out there and pitch your business if no one knows who the hell you are. It just is. I mean, brand. And it's funny, I listened to Gary Vaynerchuk, and Gary V. I listened to a podcast of his last week, and I'm a Gary V fan and disciple, and I actually spent a day with Gary V as well. I invest in coaching like crazy. But he preaches that brand is more powerful than sales. Not that, look, you have to sell. You have to sell. You can't assume people are going to come to you because you have a great brand. That's not going to happen. You have to ask for the business. You have to give your value proposition. But without a brand, man, is that a tough road to climb. It just is. So how have you built your brand and seeing others build their brand? And is it go beyond social media? How else do you create a brand?
I think I'll start by saying that there's an opportunity to learn more about it. If you go to CREISummit.com and see what we're up to, there's a meeting in Atlanta, September 11, 12, 13, which is going to be great. Rod, you were a speaker at our meeting last year. You did amazing. You got a great, huge rating on your seminar on AI. And then we have an online community called CREI Plus, and all that can be found on the website if you want to learn what we're up to. So let's talk about brand building. Brand building, whether it's social or whether it's a handshake, is really a way to communicate with people, but your brand is inside yourself, and it's who you decide to be. And so for me, I have developed, in terms of the social branding, what I call the 4 corners strategy of what I'll talk about online. So the 4 corners for me, and it could be anything you want, but for me, it's macro commercial real estate. Nobody cares if you have a sublease in Philadelphia. So what are the trends that are happening? We talked about return to office issue because everybody wants to know about that. The second is anything positive. Firefighter rescues somebody rescued the firefighter. That's kind of cool. We all want to see the good news story. The third has to do with what I call management science, because executives care about that. So how to set goals, how to lead your team, how to become a better leader, Harvard Business Review type stuff.
Yep.
And then the final is tech, because everybody's interested in new tech. So within those 4 corners, that's what I'll talk about generally online, unless it's a Georgia football day. But what's not in there, listen, I love history. I love sports, art, politics, food, wine, but that's not really consistent. And what's funny is over the years, when I've strayed from that, actually people have noticed. They begin to develop a certain way of thinking about us. And then it's sort of the same thing in person. It really goes back to the 70-30 approach of really focusing on the other person. And I thank you for what you said earlier. I do really believe in servant leadership and trying to be helpful to others first, because people can appreciate and respect that builds trust in the communication, whether it's in person or online. Yeah.
I'm going to go deeper on this. So let's talk about CREI and the summit, because folks, look, you all know that my favorite conference is Massimo Con, because I just love it. But I get paid to speak across the globe now. And with Ken, I just love no payment, no speak. I just love to speak. And more importantly, I love to be there and be with the people, because you'll learn so much. So Ken, when is exactly the next CREI summit? When is the next summit?
The in-person meeting is September the 11th, 12th, 13th. The good news is it's in Atlanta, which is an easy city to get to. It's about 20 minutes from the airport. It's in an area, we have a thing called the Beltline in Atlanta, which is a rails to trails thing. We spent $2 billion on it, and it is so cool. There are lots of bars and restaurants. We're in a hotel, brand new. It delivers in a couple weeks, boutique hotel on the Beltline called Fourth. And it's really so cool. You have to wear a mock turtleneck and bring a German Shepherd. It's a really neat area. I don't have a mock turtleneck, but I'll definitely be there. And look, I highly recommend everyone check. Give me that website again, Ken. Sure. www.CREISummit.com has everything you need. And we're going to sell out. That's not just me trying to push
No,
it. We are going to sell out. So if you're interested in coming, you can reach out and we can talk about it. To understand your investment, I can understand it's a tough world and a tough economy. I don't have to tell you investing in Rod or investing in this Rod's conference or our conference that's going to have strong ROI.
Yeah, we truly believe, both of us, that, look, you invest in yourself, you surround yourself in a community of committed people who have the conviction to move forward. And that's a lot. That's a strong power right there, those levers that you can learn so much to apply to your practice that you will ultimately will come out much better than before, just the way it works. So where do you see this? I mean, because you are the leader now in the marketplace. I will say this. I agree with you. Corey Davidson is the godfather of social media in commercial real estate. Yeah. He is. But if he's the godfather, if he's the original OG, and he is, and I've been around Corey in my first book, he's a phenomenal success. And it's not just social media folks. I mean, Ken and Corey and all those, they actually go out and practice commercial real estate and they deliver value and they're mega, dominators in what they do. But where's it headed, social media? Because I posted about this a couple of days ago. I see media sometimes just go down rabbit holes. I'm like, where are we going on this? Right? What are we doing? Yeah. To go back to how much time are you spending? So is there a danger in social media versus benefit? What's your views there?
Several questions to unpack there. So first of all, I would associate social media with the same thing as fire. You can have a wonderful fire in your fireplace on a winter evening, and it's a terrific experience. But a fire can also burn down your house. And so if you consume social media in the wrong way, or you go to the wrong places in social media, it can mess with you and cause problems. But just, you got to control it. We're all adults, and being responsible about your use is up to you. But just know the power of this tool. The second thing is how to use it. By the way, I find, and we talked about a tweet before we started recording here, it's a powerful way to communicate. I love real estate Twitter, #retweet is a wonderful place to communicate and to see the latest trends. However, your job is not to tweet. Your job is not to post. Your job is your job. And so, I've come up with a strategy. Occasionally during the day, I'm getting a cup of coffee, I'll scroll through, see what's going on. That's my decision. That's fun. But what I do is, usually when I'm getting ready for the week on Sunday afternoons, I spend about 30 minutes. Don't tell anybody, Rod, but I write the tweets and I put them into Hype Fury, which is a great technology, and it pushes them throughout the week. And occasionally, if there's something contemporaneous that happens, I'll say it. But why it might appear that I'm on my phone all day on Twitter, that's not the case. That's just presence marketing.
Yes. And it may appear that I'm on the phone all day, except for my last tweet a couple of days ago where I was actually on the phone all day. We had 200,000 responses. And a lot of haters. Yeah, I leverage Mo and technology. I can't afford being on the phone all day. I can't, right? Again, look at your hourly rate. Ken, I got to tell you, this episode of the Massimo Show has brought so much freaking value to the audience. Thank you so, so much. Let me tell you my two biggest takeaways from this, because there's so much. Okay. These are quotes from you versus principles from you. These are my two takeaways. Number one, your job is not to tweet or post. Your job is your job. I love that. But more importantly, your brand is inside yourself. And man, is that true. That is so true. That is incredible. Ken Ashley, I can't thank you enough for your valuable time. It's at least $1,000 an hour that you just invested with us. So thank you so much for that. For you, I know it's more. So bless you, brother. You're the best. And I can't wait to see you next week in New York and then see you at the CREI Summit.
Yeah, at the Real Estate Prom. Well, Rod, thank you for all you do. Your coaching really had a huge impact on me, and I'm a huge brand fan of you and your team, and you're a great leader in our business. Thank you.
Okay, brother. Take care. And everyone listen up. As I always say, Ken dropped all his value on you, and that's great. But as we say, knowing isn't doing. You got to go out and implement. And through implementation comes a transformation. So go transform. Ken, see you soon, brother. Take care. Hey, that's it. That's a wrap for this episode of the Massimo Show. Once again, hopefully you learned a lot of value provided by our guests, or maybe by me. But the key is this. As we say in Massimo, knowing isn't doing. So don't kid yourself. You have to go out and do the work. You have to implement what you learned if you want to get the results. And please, if you like this episode, please share it. Share it with your colleagues, share it with your friends. Heck, share it with your dog. Just share it. And we look forward to seeing you next time on The Massimo Show.